puppy right off camera who is losing it. Really wants somebody to be playing with him. Hey, Bitchkin Chicken Dragon, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a bit. So welcome to another day in the news. Big News Wednesdays. Certainly interesting news Wednesdays. We've got a lot of news for Jared Jackson on the full show. Big updates on Matt Gaetz, the Jacob Blake shooting. We've got a new report on what the Capitol Police knew and didn't know in advance of the 6th. And maybe this will either be hyperbolic or will immediately be surpassed in the future. But I believe that Tucker Carlson's most recent anti-vax statement might be among the most extreme anti-vax statements I have ever heard. And I will explain what I mean by that. It is, I think, way worse than other people acknowledge. Like, people are like, oh no, I can't believe he said that. But they're not really understanding what it is that he's saying and why it stands out, even in the anti-vax community. So all of that is coming up on the full show, but we've got a ton of stuff to talk about on this show. But first of all, Zane says, morning, Dragon Daddy, thank you. I do appreciate the morning. Morning, everyone. I'm still here despite my J&J shot. Did he get arrested? No, he has not. He has not gotten arrested. Sea Salt Chip says, after your hot take yesterday, don't be surprised if you're this week's community garbage person. Okay, look, at some point, we're going to have to do a full thing. Emma and I are going to have to talk about this because I just don't agree. I just don't agree. Okay, Life Danny, I see you're thinking about Kim Potter. I am going to have to look into that, but I appreciate it. It looks like people are getting notifications. I don't know. That's really funny. People are trying to guess what Trump's worst fear is. There are some good ones. The idea that he might be arrested, that he might actually be given a regular Coke instead of a diet. No, that's not it. Wait until it's going to be the last one, but you will see. You will see. But look, we got a lot to talk about, so let's talk about it. I was going to do this in depth. There just isn't time. This is a study looking into one of the core sort of myths of Donald Trump is that he really appealed to white working class voters. And not just like, hey, there's a certain type of white voter that likes him, but specifically he's more appealing to the working class because, and this is what puts it in the sort of pantheon of Republican myths right now, is that there's a lot of white working class voters that are really driven by economic concerns, and that is the only reason they like Trump. It doesn't have anything to do with all the awful stuff. It's just that. Well, it's not even true. Actually, in 2020, he got a smaller share of white working class voters. It's actually the first drop a Republican has ever experienced in that group. It's just been growing and growing and growing for a decade and a half, and he actually dropped in those numbers. It's weird that people aren't talking about that. But anyway, it's not worth going into a whole bunch more detail on. Little update on Matt Gaetz. We got more important updates later on, but this is an interesting one. It is that CNN has apparently talked to a woman who went to parties with Matt Gaetz, and there's some stuff that she says that in theory indicates possible criminal activity, some stuff that doesn't. I'll give you both, but it's really important that we understand the distinction between the two things. I mean, I guess some of it is technically illegal, but for instance, saying that he used recreational drugs a lot, he's not going to jail for it, nor should he. So, like, okay, it paints a picture perhaps, but a lot of this stuff is getting lumped together. That's not the important stuff. The important stuff is, for instance, that CNN had receipts showing that Gaetz and Joel Greenberg used digital payment applications to send hundreds of dollars. Sorry, my second coffee is still almost full. I haven't drunk yet. To send hundreds of dollars to at least one woman who attended the parties, which could be innocent. I've sometimes sent people money for ordering pizza. It's possible. The other is that one of the women who received payments tells CNN that some of them were made in exchange for sex, but she wouldn't tell the network the names of the men she was paid to sleep with. So that's interesting. She could be not willing to mention that it was either of them, or maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was some other men that she either doesn't know the names of, or it could be someone else important, or she could be lying. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff here, but CNN has talked to a woman saying that they effectively paid her to have sex with people. So I don't know. They've got his phone. Greenberg's working with him. We'll give you all of these updates and all of that, but again, doesn't look good for him. But he's a firebrand. So I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be perfectly fine. I'm sort of joking, but like I am probably pretty sure he'll be fine. You can just do whatever you want in America for the most part. Zane says, arm hurts from Moderna shot number 2, nothing else yet. The first one really hurt my wife, so hopefully yours goes away fast. Seraphic says, your pre-show stream always seems to start mid-sentence. Is there a reason for this I can do something about? No, there isn't. So here's basically the issue. I press go, it shows that it's streaming, so I start talking. However, it doesn't actually start either saving it or whatever at that point. And it doesn't give any indication when it does. So the only thing that in theory I could do, sorry, stayed up late watching that show Who Killed Sarah on Netflix. The only thing I can do is just wait a really long time to guarantee that it started before I start speaking, but then it would start and there would be a bunch of time before I speak. Is that better? I don't know. What they need to do is just make their system run better. The Bitchkin Chicken Dragon says, today is my daughter's first day back in school since the end of February 2020. She's in second grade. She'll miss your show during recess. Well, I don't think she needs to watch the show necessarily, but I am glad that she's back in school, especially when you're that young. That's where you want to be, as long as it's safe. Grizzly Dragon says, oh my, I got an actual notification. There's a first time for everything. All hail YouTube algorithms. Good morning, Johnny Pie. Hey, maybe the algorithms are starting to work once again. Wouldn't that be great? Patrick Holt says, wife is fully vaccinated. I get my second shot on Saturday. Congratulations to the Holts. Glad to hear that. Zane says, Sleepy Dragon Daddy. Yeah, I apologize. I really do need to drink this. The issue is I only drink coffee with a lot of milk. We don't have milk. We do have some creamers. I put in a couple of creamers. I don't know when we got them. So I'm a little bit terrified that my stomach is going to explode as a result of what I'm eating or drinking. And it's also very hot because it doesn't have milk in it. See, this is why you need milk and coffee. I want coffee now. That's why you need to cool it down so you can actually drink it. I don't understand these people who order coffee so hot that they can't drink it for 20 minutes. I thought you were thirsty now. Anyway. Alan Smith says, Comrade John, since you and I got our shots on the same day, I have to ask, do you also hear the sound of a dial-up modem in the back of your head? I did initially, but the connection went through, and now I'm streaming Netflix straight to my dome. Anyway, other news, House Committee expected to pass D.C. statehood bill on Wednesday. Now, this has happened before. It was passed in June of last year. I think it's a perfectly reasonable idea. The people who live in D.C. are Americans and thus deserve political representation. They pay more federal taxes than a lot of states. And I had once heard growing up that no taxation without representation. Now, they do have some representation, but not others. It's a large population. Just give them make it a fucking state. Like, if they were Republicans, they would do it. And I understand. You might say, well, yeah, but they're Dems, so that's why you want to. No, it's because they're Americans. They're Americans, they deserve to vote. The only reason they don't want it to be made a state is because they think that they would go for the Democrats. But I have an amazing idea. If that is your fear, appeal to those voters. You know? Like, have an idea that those voters would actually want you for. You know? Wage the war of ideas. How about do that? No. I mean, this is like the projection coming out of Tucker Carlson of the past week that, like, the Dems are trying to import new voters because they have no ideas. They're not even trying to appeal to voters. I can prove it factually, but then goes on not to do so. Well, first of all, the Dems won the last election, okay? And when was the last time the Republicans won a popular vote? Seriously. It's 2004, right? Okay, so who's actually having trouble in the war of ideas? They're just going around trying to stop current voters and trying to stop new voters from being made voters, even if they're U.S. citizens and should be allowed political representation. Anyway, it's probably not going to make it through the Senate, and I'm sure Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema would be against it for reasons they'll never define. Ryan Nowicki says, I'm trying to find data to show average approval of bills sponsored, voted for, and average approval of bills blocked, voted against by reps. It would be nice to see that aggregate data for all reps. That would be really complicated. Oh, I apologize. Today's going to be rough. Maybe I'm still tired of the vaccine. That would be complicated, but it is interesting. It's a laudable goal. Todd Speck says, Trump of fools. Netakin says, I just got my first dose yesterday of Pfizer. When do I get the 5G? I think with Pfizer, it takes like 2 to 3 days to kick in. Chubtoad says liquid creamer has an industry shelf life of 9 months. Okay, well, no, that's useful information. But I don't know if this is within the last 9 months. I'm a little bit worried. Zane says appeal to constituents. Donors come first, GOP. Yeah, they do. Okay, everybody. Yeah, today's going to be rough. And by the way, the notifications appear to work. We're closing in on 5,000 viewers, and today is the day that I forget to drink my coffee in the morning. Okay. Hey, you want to feel good? You want some Schadenfreude? Here's some Schadenfreude for you. GOP senators are complaining that Biden keeps passing bills without them. Now, look, this is an article on Raw Story. It's interesting. I got some quotes I'm going to read for you. I will say first off, though, as much fun as it is, what do you mean keeps passing bills? They passed a bill. And it was a bill that, like, everybody other than Republican senators agrees on. So what are you whining for? This article almost feels like it's trying to give Biden credit he hasn't earned. That he's just steamrolling Republicans left and right. No! He maybe steamrolled Republicans left. And that's it, once. It was the COVID bill. That's what we got. He's proposed other bills. We haven't actually gotten them yet. What other significant legislation has passed? Am I insane? Have I missed a bunch of huge pieces of legislation? Did the infrastructure bill pass? Did the $15 minimum wage pass? I don't believe that it did. But anyway, it's still fun that they're complaining. So they have this aide who's a staffer for the G10, these Republican so-called close to moderates that want to work with Biden for shitty bipartisan bills. So the staffer says, it's a fucking nightmare. Biden is a horrible villain for us. Which, hold on a second. This person literally said, Biden is a horrible villain for us. That's a weird sentence. Is that not a very weird sentence? Why would you say it that way? If you were serious, if you were actually opposed to Biden, he's a horrible villain for us. That sounds like PR for Biden. Because, of course, Biden wants you to think that lots of Republicans are like, he's a horrible villain. I think it's suspicious. Quote, there are deeply entrenched narratives that have some truth but are no longer totally true. Reporters believe them despite all evidence to the contrary. I don't even know what most of this means. And that's all that they give you. If you get an invitation to the White House, you go to the White House. But regardless, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. When you go to the White House meeting, you risk being used in a feigned attempt at bipartisanship. So that's pretty funny. Look, not even necessarily not true, but you're going for feigned bipartisanship. Bullshit. Everything they support is defined as either COVID relief or infrastructure. Those are the only two bills. And they've only finished one. Well, yes, there's two. One was COVID relief, one was infrastructure. That's true. Not everything is included in that. Everything they oppose is like Jim Crow, voter suppression, evil. That's all you guys are trying to do. It's been a few months. Your legislatures are only trying to suppress the vote after you lost. And generally doing it in areas where it's not going to hit white people. So, do the math a bit there. What are your priorities? You let us know what your priorities are by proposing hundreds of bills all about one thing, passing them within a month or two of the end of divisive elections that you guys try to steal. Yeah, we're going to focus on that. I think justifiably. Anyway, I'm done with it. It feels too PR-y. And honestly, even if it's honest, it's so pathetic that I've extracted all of the joy I can get out of it. Rob Shively says, who just opened that door? You know what you're doing. Now stop it. I'm going to make all of you yawn. Justin Batts, welcome to Tier 2 YouTube membership. Enjoy the top 10 lists, including this week's top 10 things Biden weirdly hasn't done that he could totally do on his own and has said that he'd do, but weirdly isn't doing it yet. So we pointed that out. I know, we're like super easy on Biden or whatever. Still can't lift, Tandra can't lift their arm 2 weeks after Moderna. Jesus. Horrible villain. Yeah, what do you mean horrible? They passed the COVID bill. the Dems were going to pass a COVID bill. The American people, including Republican voters, wanted them to pass a COVID bill. Ugh, shut up. Anyway, one other story before we get to our main one, which is a bit ironic. But I want to start off with this. So the QAnon people, hold on, I need a coffee. The QAnon people are still out there. That's your setup for the story. By the way, thank you to the over 6,000 of you who are here. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Let more people know that the stream is live. It looks like the notifications maybe are going out, but it still helps when likes happen on the video. So let's see if we can get past 1,500. Okay, the QAnon people are still out there. They haven't just gone away, as nice as that would be. And they have always been very desperate and thirsty for confirmation that they're awesome and everything they believe is true. But it is getting really weird up in here. So Mike Pompeo tweeted something. And the tweet had to do with China and Taiwan and the banning of crops, something about pineapple, whatever. So he tweeted, as a proponent of freedom, enjoying some Taiwanese dried pineapple, checkmate. And it's a photo of him playing chess. And that is all it takes for QAnon to just the wheels start spinning in their brain, and those wheels are hamster wheels. And there's just a dead hamster just lying on it. And they have gone crazy. So I'm inclined to say, now let's walk through all the steps so we understand this, but that's impossible. But we're going to understand a part of it. So bear in mind, everything can be interpreted in reference to the drops that they've gotten, the things that Q gave them. Thousands of messages over the course of a couple of years, all with a bunch of vague bullshit in it, that it's enough stuff that you can tie anything to it. Now, they haven't gotten any of these drops since less than a week after the election. Seems, it might have been December, actually. I want to be more accurate than they'll ever be. I think it was December. Anyway, they haven't gotten messages, but the old ones are still there. So they believe that the checkmate tweet from Mike Pompeo is a reference to one of the drops that once, last year, had checkmate in it. Is May of 2020. It was a vague passage about chess tactics. So because he put checkmate, that's a reference to May. But that's not the weirdest part about this. So one of the people, a Telegram guy with 15,000 subscribers, and it's definitely a guy, said, if this isn't comms, I don't know what is. He literally won the game with his knight on d5. Now, there's a couple of things about that you need to understand. First of all, d5 is a reference to, like, a billion years ago, I think it was 2018, Q put d5 in something, and so they all convinced themselves that that means December 5th. So that means on December 5th, the storm is coming. It didn't happen in 2018 or 2019 or 2020, but they still believe it's important, even though he didn't even say December 5th. They just believe it's December 5th. And December 5th, nothing ever happens, but they still believe it. So because he won the game with his knight on d5, that means it is going to happen December 5th this year, except it's going to be Mike Pompeo, except also he didn't win the game on d5. The account later said, well, okay, so he didn't win the game, but the queen is in danger. It wasn't even checkmate, but the queen is in danger. So the queen is Hillary? Maybe Oprah. I don't know, and neither do they. But this is how they're trying to put things together. This other account, Pepe Lives Matter, so you can tell it's a good person, who has 63,000 Telegram subscribers, says, if Mike Pompeo's latest tweet isn't comms, then I don't know what is. Which is simultaneously crazy and the sanest, most rational thing that person's ever said. You don't know. You don't know what comms is. Because Mike Pompeo's shit doesn't mean anything. Mike Pompeo's not Q. But apparently now Mike Pompeo is going to do what Trump was supposed to do. Even though all that stuff is about Trump, nope, we're moving on. It's Mike Pompeo. Until Trump comes back. Then it'll be Trump again. But for now, it's Mike Pompeo because he can tweet. Yeah, what Mike Pompeo is showing us is that his next move from D5 to F6 will give him total control of the board, including the most important center of the board to dictate the moves going forward to checkmate. The position of the board is also showing that no matter what the other side does, all in caps, nothing can stop what is coming, even though the other side has all their pieces still in the game. We have a mental health crisis in this country. We seriously do. So, like, apparently Mike Pompeo is in a bad position in this game of checkmate. But that just means that, like, we lost the election, and they have all their pieces, but checkmate because the pineapple tweet. We don't have to be worried. Everything's good for us. Because the pineapple tweet, I briefly thought that I had been conned for years. I believed stuff that was crazy, but no. That was a test. But then I saw the pineapple tweet and I knew, it's still gonna happen. The storm's gonna happen. They're gonna kill everyone I don't like. It's a relief, really. It's a relief to know that they're going to kill everyone that I don't like. Oh, my family thought I was so crazy. But I'm not crazy. They're crazy. And they'll find out on December 5th how crazy they are. So obviously I'm joking there. But if I just did that seriously, I could probably get way more subscribers as a QAnon person because this bullshit is so simple. It's so simple. God. Anyway, William Moore says, Minnesota police officer has been charged with second-degree manslaughter. Thank you for that update. We will mention that in the show today. And thank you, by the way, to those of you who hit the like button. We shot past 1,500 pretty thoroughly there. Kelly says, we need a yawning John emoji. No, I don't want to encourage that. I need to drink more coffee. That's what I need to do. There is a Rockstar in the fridge, but my God, those things have a lot of caffeine. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think I might pour a little bit in a bottled water, but I don't want to drink that whole thing. Astro Comet Dragon says, we'd like to claim Billion Degree Dragon. That's pretty hot, but feel free. Umbre says, the CDC and FDA asked for a pause of JJ vaccines. J&J threw out 15 million doses, shut down 2 production sites, and is reviewing another 62 million for disposal. Yes, it has been troubled times. Mel says, John, why aren't you talking about how Emma bodied you on Twitter yesterday? This is very important news. You shut up, goddammit. You shut up. We're going to do a podcast. I want to do a Game of Thrones rewatch podcast with Emma. Every episode. That's what we're going to do. Tweet at Emma, hashtag John and Emma GOT podcast. When? We do apparently know Q's identity, and it is as boring as I always feared that it would be. Thought the queen was Beyonce? Yeah, maybe. Where's R? Angela, thank you for the super chat. Wild-Eyed Yeti says, Don Jr. is the queen on D5. Tom Twiddell says, being wrong constantly must be exhausting for the Q folks. I guess we can enjoy the entertainment value, LOL. But they're never actually wrong. Because there's always some desperate, clawing explanation afterward. Vincent Miller, thank you very much for the big Rockin' the City sticker. I appreciate that. Is John finally losing it? Maybe. John, get help. Mary Hooker-Meyer says, love it when you discuss conspiracy theories and the light in the back starts blinking. Need a conspiracy as bizarre as possible for blinking light. No, but that's the thing. They will do Morse code off of it or something. Daniel says, pineapple equals pizza topping equals Pizzagate. Checkmate libs. Mike Pompeo, pedo confirmed. Apparently. See? Isn't this easy? Makes me feel good. Kenny from Philly says you turned into Cody Johnson. That's funny. Klutzy Dragon, welcome to Tier 1 YouTube membership. Thank you for being here. Josh says, I think it's time to claim Solonjit's Dragon. That one I don't know. Hot Pot Betty Dragon says, the strategy is to do politics just like a reality game show. Keep it mind-boggling to keep the dem head spinning. Oi, is it working? Ouch. Newsmax has gone from 1 million viewers to less than 200K. Well, that actually might play into our final story, which we're going to turn to in 1 second. Sorry, Dragon says, Dragon Daddy, if you start appealing to Q just to get subscribers, I will leave and you miss me. I'm not going to do that. Oh, trust me. There have been multiple opportunities over the past 5 years that it would have been very easy to make certain changes to what I say and profess to believe to get a much larger audience. The secret to a lot of independent stuff is it is not very difficult to look out there and say, what does this community of people want to be told, and what will they pay large amounts of money to be told? The thing is, you don't fucking do it. That's a shitty reason to get into this whole thing. Honestly, that's a really bad reason. If you give a shit about any of this, if you have any of the political values they actually believe, that can't be the thing that drives you. Jesus Christ. But it's really easy. And especially if you then do that, and you get the money, and those people then say, and you're the one with the integrity for taking my money. Okay. It's not hard, but don't do it. Bigglebong says, put ice cream in your coffee. Hi from New Zealand. That is a great idea. I don't have any, though. Wait. Maybe I do. In the freezer. I'm going to look. It's going to be older than the creamer, though. Copper the Copper Dragon says, Dre Hollingsworth is a deaf black woman. NLVPD detained her and forced her children to interpret ADA violation. Jesus Christ. Okay, we got to get to this last story because we are dreadfully over really fast. Okay, so Donald Trump put out this statement talking about the pause on J&J. He says, the people who've already taken the vaccine will be up in arms, and perhaps all of this was done for politics, or perhaps it's the FDA's love for Pfizer. He's just mad that Pfizer didn't take the money. Anyway, the FDA, especially with longtime bureaucrats, has to be controlled. Blah, 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 blah. If I didn't act, you wouldn't have had a vaccine for 3 to 5 years, or maybe not at all. Or maybe not at all. You'd never have had it. Pfizer, which didn't even take my money and had it within 6 months, would have never had it without my money. That is effectively what he's saying. The only way we defeat the China virus is with our great vaccines. So look, honestly, put that one on the news. He's once again saying to take the vaccine. But here's the story, and here is the greatest fear. I didn't even know that he put that out yesterday until I saw an article on NBC News titled, without his Twitter account, Trump's conspiracy theories find little traction. So there were theories there that they're pausing the J&J to help Pfizer, whatever. And look, I understand the irony. I'm telling you about that statement. I get it. But he puts out these statements and I don't even see them. Like, I don't see them on his Twitter. I don't even see them being spread on Twitter. Like, his conspiracy theories are actually getting way less reach. Him being taken off of Twitter, shockingly effective, actually. Even for me, I'm on the news all the time. And I'm on plenty of places where I would see Trump statements, but I didn't. He has this ability to put out these presidential statements that are just tweets, but they're not tweets. They don't get the spread of tweets. And that's actually pretty fascinating, that it is actually working. I don't know how many of his other statements I never saw because I never saw them. It's fascinating, isn't it? Not as fascinating as the pineapple pizza. I get it. But like, taking them off because they spread misinformation actually helps stop the misinformation. I know. Isn't that crazy? And he's got to know it because he can put out those statements, but he doesn't get the retweets. He doesn't get to see, I got 80,000 retweets. What does he have? He's got to be stewing in it, man. Anyway, Janet says, my brother just told me, you want to hear a coincidence? George Floyd's girlfriend was Daunte Wright's teacher. Is that really true? Jesus. Okay, I apologize, people. Altec Phoenix, welcome to Tier 2 YouTube membership. Thank you for being with us. I am going to have to run because I am way, way over. But think about what I said. It's actually working. Cancel culture. Doing good in the world. Anyway, thank you for being here. Big News Wednesday comes up in just a few minutes. There's a lot of you here. Thank you for being here. Anyway, stay here In less than 15 minutes, J.R. Jackson and I are going to go through the news. Tons of important updates on a lot of different stories. Or you can head to twitch.tv/TYT, and I will see you soon.